Hello viewers and welcome to the first of our WRC8 coverage from E3 2019. I know it's been sought after for some time and I'm going to break it into a few videos and hopefully we'll eventually cover all the questions you have, at least from this next early build on the game. Still a few months of development to go. The game is coming out in September and we're going to be doing as much as we can in terms of trying to give you guys some feedback on this and many other racing games of course between now and then, but this is of course one that's pretty hotly anticipated. Kicking off here with a bit of a WRC 2 driving in Argentina during sunset conditions. Really nice. We're going to come back to this in another video, but the majority of this video, this first part one, is going to be focused on Monte Carlo. And you can see here in Monte Carlo mountains, we're gonna there'll be a bit of dynamic weather in the second video to come, but in this first video we've used just stock conditions. The dynamic weather wasn't on in some of this demo build, so we'll be looking at more of that in the future, and it does add a big difference. But I thought let's start with WRC 2 and have a run down through here and see how we get on with this, and then improve our speed once we learn the stage on WRC super fast class, because it really is super fast and really challenging. So the first thing you see, obviously one of the new Monte Carlo stages, is the size and scale of the mountains, the landscape, lots of detail being added there. It's going to be quite interesting when you add in the dynamic weather, which is going to be in here as well. And I've also added a little camera view there of my steering wheel action, so you can see just, you know, sort of the work behind the wheel. I'm more of a smoother, progressive track racer, traditionally, in the way I race. So it takes a bit of getting used to for me to get used to the amount of steering work going on here. There's a lot going on, and it's pretty tricky through some of these corners. You've got to sort of count almost for a little bit of understeer, keeping it tight to the apex, the rear car standing out. You're also looking at the ground here. He says a bit more snow and ice sort of catching me out a little bit occasionally. The texture on the tarmac changes, and you really do notice the sort of alteration in terms of the level of grip that's available, especially when there's dynamic conditions. It makes a huge difference depending on the tyres you're using. Now, video part 2 is going to look at controller handling. It's going to focus specifically on the controller gameplay on part 2. And of course we're using the wheel here, which is traditionally what I use. And of course I'm using the manual gears, but I'm using the paddle shifters. I am using the handbrake on the wheel rather than the Thrustmaster handbrake. I will be using that in the future as well, but I thought it was interesting just to get used to the handbrake as is, and it works very well indeed. They've really improved the feeling of the handbrake. That's not to say it isn't challenging to use. It is challenging, but you get your head in the right place, and it feels very logical in the way it works, which is great. So coming down then to this hairpin, you say you're braking downhill, slowing the car down, getting in the corner, getting on the power. A little bit of power just to help get the back end of the car around works really well. I'm using the forward dash cam here, and there's going to be some no comment. If some of you are watching this now thinking Alan's talking, there is going to be some no comment driving at the end of this video, so there'll be a bit of that, and there'll be some no comment videos to follow in the future. Plenty of that, don't worry about that, but I just want to get across the core information. So using the new dash cam here, there are some elements which I'm going to investigate in terms of how far along they are with incorporating the cockpit cam, because I still see that some elements are still incorporating. So we're going to look at that in a future video once I know what's in the game and what's finished and what's not, because this is very much still a work in progress. Now, a lot of you get game development and understand that something's in development, therefore something isn't in there yet. Some people don't. They see a game early on and that's what they see. So we've got to make sure that some things are built and in place first. But either way, looking really nice. Nice trees here as well. Lovely trees. This bit through the town is one of my favourite bits that we're coming to here. And obviously I ran this stage a few times just in making this video, and it gets no less tricky because you want to carry more speed, but it's very difficult carrying speed through these sections. You get a little bit of curbing there to throw you off, and when you get in the car in tight here to these corners. This is a tricky corner here. It doesn't look it, but it's got a bit of a rock jutting out on entry, and it really can make a difference. And through here, grip's low, there's a lot of bumping around, a lot of undulation, and it can throw the car off very easily. So you've really got to settle the car be progressive with the throttle so that you're keeping your weight distribution in the right direction. Otherwise you can find that the weight transfer will just sort of throw you off on some of these bumps, and the inertia there that can be quite negative in that sense. Same here, you know, it's a downhill understeering through there, don't want to get on that ice. And as I learned this stage, I mean obviously I didn't know it as well when I was driving here, but I got better at it once I got to learning it and doing it with a controller. Again, trees, visibility, everything really nice. Clear day, clear weather, good way to start. You know, we'll come to night driving eventually on future videos, dynamic, this, that and everything when it comes to the various different dynamic weather available. So then I just wanted to add in a multicam for you guys, because I know some people drive from different points of view, and so we've got various replays and stuff like that. And see various replay angles of racing round. And the behind car view, there's two behind car views. One of them sort of locked to the car, and one of them's a bit more dynamic. I believe this is the more dynamic point of view, but it's to give you guys a better feeling of speed. And again, from those two views, you see a big sort of view of the environment, working really nicely there, and through the tunnel. So that's working really nicely. And up the hill as well. So it's working really nicely through different views. The replay cameras are still, as I understand, it's still a work in progress, but either way I want to include some of those. And in a moment in the video we're going to take a look at the Helicam, which is now extensive throughout entire stages. You can watch entire stages from the Helicam view. It really adds a lot in terms of learning your line through some of these corners. Overhead you can really see when an apex is, you know, early or late in the corner, how you should be attacking it, perhaps where you're attacking some corners wrongly or incorrectly. This corner here is always a bit tricky because you're sort of handbraking a bit for continuing your way up the hill through the different elements. It's very sort of a quick section there of left, right, but the key thing is that you get the car in early. You use the camber of the road there. If you find that you can't get it into the crest correctly, you'll find that you'll be spat out on the exit and you just won't get anywhere. And there's lots of small things to catch your wheels on throughout these stages, lots of bushes, rocks, you know, little things that just unbalance the car ever so slightly when you hit some of them. These sections in particular, because you've got these bits of wall jutting out on the side. If you touch one of them, it can do significant damage, so you really want to avoid them. Both sides here as well. The wall on the right hand side there has little bits jutting out. They can catch the car as well. Just on this next section you've got a bit of wall, and then after that you want to go a bit slowly through here because the wall on the left can catch you as well. There's something there that sort of juts out. The car can step out there occasionally. Lots of little things that you learn when you run this stage, and you get your head around how to drive the car on the various stages. But once you get your head around it, then you're ready. I mean, it's going to be interesting when we learn more about the career, because the career is really going to have to train you as a driver. And I can say this, if you want to enjoy the game, it's worth starting in the slower cars and progressing. If you're just going to jump into the WRC cars, the vast number of people that play this game aren't going to have much fun, because they are really, really difficult to drive. I mean, it's a proper challenge. You need some understanding of the handling, the course, the calls, everything else coming from the co-driver before you get it. Otherwise, you can find yourself falling off the road in every corner. The other thing is when the WRC cars, and we'll have a look at that in a moment, is the amount of half throttle is you're barely full throttle. There's so much power in these modern cars. It's amazing, really, in terms of the acceleration and braking performance. So you need to be quite committed with them if you want to get good times, and I'm certainly not there yet. It's when you see the top players and how aggressive they are with the wheel, throwing the car in, you realise just how aggressive you need to be to really maximise the times here. But I'm just showing you what I can with the time I can with the going through these stages, and no doubt I'll improve myself as I test this E3 demo and get more out of it. We'll be looking at Turkey later in the video, and that will give you a change of scenery as well. I'll come through this high-speed section at the end before we move on to the WRC car and see how we progress with that. So again, through those last two corners, various viewpoints, and through the final tunnel, and then it's over the line to complete this section, and that will complete this multicam. So now we're in, I think this is might be dawn now, different time of day, running. I put my headlights on there because I realised actually it is a bit darker, and why not maximise my illumination in terms of light, views available. I mean, it does help, everything you can see in terms of detail, especially in these fast cars. So this is the full WRC class, and the speed is immediately noticeable when you put your foot down. There's instant throttle response, but there's a lot more movement in the car. Moments like that tunnel look quite simple, but they're really deceptive. The car's almost, it goes so quickly downhill that you feel like the car's floating. You literally get that feeling of there's no ground under the car almost. It's almost hovering, it's going so quick. In this section, there's so much power again. Trying to go half throttle and feather the throttle through here. Not full power at all. Just about got the braking right there. In a way, you want to go faster. The car gives you that feeling where you want to push harder because you're not nearly full throttle. There's a lot more power and speed there, and there's probably more room for commitment, but you've got to be mindful. As soon as you hit a bit of ice, as soon as the tarmac changes, a little bit of handbrake just to get the car in there, it can all change completely. It's a really big difference it makes when that happens. So you've got to be alert, really alert, all the way. Trying to get, you've got to get close to these bits of wall jutting out constantly. You've got to commit, otherwise your time's just going to be terrible. So, I'm always trying to do a committed run here for you guys. I'm not hanging around. So there are mistakes here and there, but it's me just trying to, I want to go for it. I don't want to be too slow. And no doubt when, obviously the top players will be in a whole different league, but it's nice to try and get your head around the physics. And the physics, let's talk a bit about the physics so far. So for me, there's much more dynamic feeling from the tyres. The handbrake turns in particular feel much more natural. You do feel the weight transfer, you feel it working, you feel that you have the control in terms of how the brake works, in terms of a little bit of wheel spin just helping you get around. The car feels like it's moving naturally. It initially takes some getting used to. When I first played it, I thought, the car's bouncing around a lot on its suspension. I feel like, I don't know if I'll be able to drive this. It's really difficult. I was really struggling with it initially, and then after some practice of getting my eye in as to the speed sensitivity for the corners, suddenly it started to come together, and it started to come together primarily by saying, I'm going to do a junior WRC. And so I did the junior WRC, and then I progressed from that into the WRC2, and suddenly the WRC2 for me was the perfect balance. It was a perfect balance of fun and speed. The car was very responsive, really fun to drive. And then when I made it up to WRC class, I in many retrospects, I didn't have as much fun driving this car because it was so challenging to drive that it was almost, you're just constantly on the edge. You're constantly thinking, goodness, I want to get through this stage without crashing so this video doesn't look bad. That's basically what was going through my mind, because you really don't want to have a video full of crashes if you can help it. But so much power in the car at this point that I'm sort of struggling with, just the bumps and dabs on the brakes here, dabs on the through this gate. I'm committed through there. And I know my time here is going to be okay, so I'm really trying to push a bit, but you see how the car just doesn't grip through there. there's gentle throttle, but again, a bit of braking there, just to get a bit more braking, turn the car in early. You've got to lift. The car won't hang on there. It's downhill, flat. Now lifting, and just too much. I tried to carry too much speed. And just as I was saying earlier about the oversteer, that was the oversteer. Sorry, the understeer, and that was what caused it there. And so right near the end, I thought, hey, let's just give it everything, and I did it again there for good measure. But had a go. So now we're going to look at the multicam, and we'll just see how we get on with the multicam now. And it's again, I thought I'd do a different layout this time for you guys. Just a nice bigger view you get of everything here. There's going to be views of everything in the video. I'm trying to show what I can, every aspect. I know it's a bit dark, unfortunately. Sometimes when you're filming the screen, there's so much light from the screen, the wheel's a bit dark because it's a black wheel. But either way, I hope you can see it there, and I just wanted to show you guys a bit of input where I can, because I really do feel that with rally driving in particular, the inputs, or in any driving really, I think it's really interesting for people to see the input in terms of the various work going on behind the wheel. And I'm somebody who, traditionally, I always say this, I'm a track racer, so there's part of me that's quite progressive, but the more I played this, the more I realised that you really need to be working the wheel more than I am at the moment. As we take a look at the helicopter shot there, this goes all the way through the stages. You can actually watch whole stages just from the helicopter view. Some views are better than others. Obviously here we're going through a mountain, so there's trees and stuff like that in the way, but some environments are very open, and I really like looking at this stage. I felt some of the different stages actually really show you some of the different corners and apexes and how you can get on. We'll change from view to view as the video goes on. Great feeling of speed from behind the car as well. And I'll be hopefully showing you some more. So I'm talking a lot in this video, I know that, but that's because we've got some no comment videos to come, and I don't know how complete everything is on this video in terms of audio and audio input, so I know there is still a lot of work going on, so I'm going to find out what's what, and then we can run some no comment videos with you guys. But actually do let me know what cars and tracks you would like to see. I'm not promising I can run them all, but I will do my best to run some of those and give a bit of variety. There is a lot in there to learn. I've been putting in a few hours, but I've been thoroughly enjoying it actually. I think when I first started playing it, I thought, this is really tough, really tough. I mean, it was pushing me all the way in terms of my sort of driving, to learn how to drive these cars. And then once I finally put some practice in, you do develop the skills. But as I say, did mean going through the slower classes to understand the progression in terms of power. You can see they're getting quicker and quicker with it. I'm not hanging around. I want to. You can go. I mean, if I was to go a bit slower, it would make it less likely to have a crash. But I thought, why do that? We're rallying. We want to go fast. So I am trying to put in some time here and really sort of go for just a wheel on a bit of the snow there or something. Just throw you off in the braking zone in particular. Feathering the throttle through there, the car can easily fly off those corners. Got away with that little touch, and they're very lucky because those walls can really catch you out. Slow through there. Again, car can understeer, braking, just missing the barrier through the town. Again, you sort of first and second gear, moving the car around, squirts of power, getting into these apexes, bumping around, understeering through that corner. It's always a more challenging corner than it looks actually. Some of these corners are quite straightforward and some of them are just not. There's lots of lumps and bumps, and it's the little ones that catch you out. And like that's a committed corner through there, but you need speed through this section, otherwise you just lose so much speed. Nice lighting through the trees there. So this is the PC version for anybody who's watching. I'll put that in the description as well. as I say, is still in development. So, oh, and there's that mistake again, of course. I was very frustrated myself. I was just trying to really carry extra speed through to finish the stage. And then I kind of reached that, oh, I don't care, let's leave your foot down and see if you can make it. And of course that was when I hit that, because the car couldn't quite make it. But you know, you've got to learn what the tyres are capable of. I was mentioning those helicopter cams, and you know, here you see this is a bit from the new Rally Italy, where they've sort of touched up the old stages, and as far as I'm concerned, they've changed the start of this stage. It's definitely different to how it was, and there might be minor alterations. I certainly found it a lot more challenging to drive, and there seems to be some more detail, but it seems like they've given all the stages a bit of a once-over. But I did like here, Chris Meek here racing along, and just enjoying the various helicopter cams. So these run through the entire stages, which will certainly add a lot when you're watching the various esports and stuff. Really nice. Various improvements you can see to the sort of dust and smoke coming off the car as well as it ploughs its way through down these roads. Really nice effects there. So on to another WRC2 class car now, racing around Turkey. Again, dawn conditions, headlights on. For me it was quite helpful having the headlights on. We're going to look at dynamic weather and rain in future videos. Again, I'm just going to find out when we've got some complete sort of build graphics to show you guys, because obviously so much is, you know, still being worked on and developed. I mean, a lot of this stuff has been improved a lot over the last sort of 8 weeks since we first played it. I mean, there was a lot still being done when the eSport players all turned up to Lyon to try it out. But it was good that they got the eSport players there, because they got feedback from real rally drivers, but they needed feedback from players as well in terms of various different elements, because real rally drivers get the feeling, as I say, from the seat of their pants. You know, they're feeling it through the pedals, they're feeling it through the car, they're feeling it through the wheel, they're feeling it through everything, whereas gamers don't get that. They're using control pad, they need various visual cues, whatever those may be, and it helps them in terms of the camera and the way everything moves and works, as well as the tactile feedback through the steering wheel and that handbrake. I am happy to say great progress has been made on controller inputs again as well. They've got better every time, but this time they're in a really good place with it. But I've not done enough with it yet on different surfaces, so, and I'll share my progress on videos as I progress my way through. This tricky section, again, different textures. You go from the sort of smoother gravel to bobbly textured rough stones and gravel as well. So we go into a slightly darker section here, just behind the shadow of the mountain. Just trying to keep it on the road. There's a bit of dirt on the windscreen. The windscreen wipers are on a timed wipe at the moment. So let's talk a little bit about the co-driver as well. We're going to talk about that in a future video in more detail. He's still being implemented at the moment, so there's various calls that apparently they're getting fine-tuned. For the most part they're okay, but certainly there's a few calls here and there that I think they just need to fine-tune, and then that will work much better. Absolutely essential. Getting sound balance set up on the co-driver is going to be key. It's very sort of tinny, the sound at times. It's sometimes not as easy to hear him as I'd like it to be, but again, they've still got time to fix that, and it might depending on your language that you're listening to as well. So it'd be interesting to know from other languages how they feel about it. But I love the view here. Look at the sunshine, the view, amazing. That's a really nice dawn view. I really like this section. It's rugged, stones are bumping on the car. I'm going to leave you with some audio for just a moment, just to enjoy that.
And right 3 medium, tighten. Into left 2 short, don't cut. And right 4 tightens, narrows into kinks. And right 2 short, 30. Left 5 medium and fast kinks. Into left 6 short, 30. Right 5 short, 3 in, and flat left medium, narrows bumpy. Right 6, 50. Left 5, medium, tightens. Into right 4, short, 30. Caution, left 3 tightens, 2 at junction. And right 4 short, don't cut. Into left 3 and right 6 short, into left 5 short. Into right 5 into left 5 short. And hard brake right 2, don't cut. Into left 3 short. Into left 4 short. Left 4 short, don't cut. Into right 3 tightens. Into left 4 short, into right 2 short. Into left 3, 80. Left 3, tightens into flat right. Into flat left, hard brake for hairpin left, 100. Right 4 short.
So a rough idea there of some of the various sound effects and calls and stuff like that. You can hear that when you're over sort of rougher textures. You do get a lot more sort of bobbling and feel through the wheel. You know, so we're going to look at stuff like force feedback in more analysis much closer to launch than we are right now. I mean, it's very much a work in progress, viewers, so we're actually seeing quite a lot of the game given how much there is still to be done on it. But that was an enjoyable, though very challenging stage, it has to be said. Again, I wanted to show the replay to this stage because, again, you know, you see so much more in the scale of the environments. And one of the things that's changed in WRC 8 not only is the dynamic weather, obviously there's 15 locations, 14 stages in the rally, or locations in the rally, 14 locations. Of course, one location is the training park, which is Poland. And again, you know, what you'll have heard when I'm racing is I felt more comfortable on the heavy stony gravelly part than I did on the dusty sand. It sounds quite strange, but I was still learning at that stage where the speed was and where the braking distances were and where the bumps are. There's a lot to learn on these stages. You look at a piece of straight and he says, you know, right 6, and you think I can go virtually flat through there, and then but there's bumps and small things that can really throw you off. So just trying to get a feel for how committed you can be with a car. So you're seeing a very tentative drive on this stage compared to the Monte Carlo a moment ago. This didn't have a restart. This was actually the first time running it in this car and class, and I thought, you know, let's just, as ever I like to sometimes, I like to show the learning aspect, but what you'll see is I'm much more tentative when I'm learning. You know, I'm sort of just lifting a bit earlier and, you know, getting on the power when I get through a corner, and I'm lifting more for corners, even sometimes when I don't need to, because once the car starts to get out of shape, very difficult to decelerate and get control again. You need to sort of decelerate, so you lift and you small bit of braking, but then when you're trying to slow down, you just give it a very minute amount of power to get the weight transfer balanced and get into the right direction again. So sometimes driving forward is the way to cure you know, moments like that when you're losing it. It's just to have a little bit of power just to keep pushing you in the right direction, get the momentum right, and away you go. Again, here different points of view from the outside view of the car here, and I just wanted to show different viewpoints in this video, so you just see a lot more in terms of the views there. Really nice though, graphics are nice. Questions are being asked to me about frame rate. What I know, obviously your PC version will run at 60, or depending on whatever graphics card you've got, but it should run pretty smoothly. Again, everything's still being optimized at the moment, so we'll see that all in the final build as to how well it's actually going to run in all conditions. The console versions are going to run at 30 frames as far as I'm aware on the Xbox and PlayStation 4, though on PlayStation 4 Pro and Xbox One X they're aiming for 60 frames. I hope they hit that, because frame rate makes a huge difference in racing games. I've always said it, I'll say it again, it does make a huge difference, and you know, that's why market leading games like Gran Turismo you know, and Forza Motorsport aim for 60 frames because they know what a difference it makes to the racing experience. Loving this helicopter cam. That's just me. I like a good replay. I think in terms of the replay cameras themselves are pretty average in the way they run. You know, I prefer something a bit more dynamic and realistic. Again here, nice view from behind the car. You can see the dirt gathering on the car there. View off into the distance. Really nice this time of day. And of course the fact that you can see your road, as I mentioned before, wrapping around the mountains. They build full-scale mountains and then they can put the roads on them and make it very authentic. We've come a long way in rally games over the past 10 years, I can tell you, or 9 years since the first WRC of this particular number in 2010, and we have come a long way. So downhill section, I like this section. I think the stone textures are really nice. They've got great texturing going on here. Well done to Mr. Stone Texturing Man. I've always thought that Big Ben have done good foliage. We talked about this in Isle of Man TT when you know Kiloton as a company have worked on making great foliage and everything they've put together. Love good trees and bushes there. It's all good. It's all good. And going downhill, again, I was enjoying this section. I was much more committed to that section than I was in the sandy section above. I just did feel like the car was as balanced. And now storming my way through to the end of that stage. I was getting more and more confident as I was driving. I was understanding the car more and more, and you know, if I ran that again and again, I'd probably take off, you know, 20 seconds off that time. You know, there's loads of time to take off these times, guys. You know, this isn't quick at all. This is very much being very sensible. So I hope you've enjoyed a lot of this video. It's sort of quick. I've got a lot to come. Controller gameplay. Eventually there'll be some triple screen gameplay. But do let me know what you want to see. What stages and locations. I've got some different locations and videos to come as well. And again, trying to show the wheel usage as well as the controller. I think it's really important we show all of them. And just a quick look here at some of the menus. They had a daily challenge event. No one's done it, obviously. I'm the only person on the leaderboard, but I thought I'd have a go. I'd go back to this stage again, see if I could improve my time, and again, just give it everything and see if I can put together what I've learned so far and improve. So I'm going to leave you now with a bit of this no comment gameplay to finish off this part 1 of WRC 8 from our E3 coverage. Do like and subscribe to the channel. It supports what we do. If you like all the racing game content we do, please support that by supporting the channel. Do let us know what you think of the video in the comments. What would you like to see in future videos? Let me know and we'll see what we can put together. But other than that, thanks for watching, and there'll be more from me very soon.
5, keep into right 4, 30. Kinks, 30. Left 5 narrows, 30. Left 5 short, 50. Right 4 tightens into left 6 into right 6 tightens, 30. Left 5 very long, 30. Right 3 short and left 3 widens. Into right 3 narrows into left 3 and right 4, 50. Right 4 short into left 3, very long, 30. Flat right, tightens 2, 30. Right 4, keep into left 3, short into right 4. And left 2, short. Into right 4, into left 3, short. Into right 3, short, keep into left 2. Into right 4, tightens 3 into left 2. Into right 3, 30 over tarmac. Left 3, tightens into right 3, short. Into fast kinks over crest, 50. Left 4, tightens, 80. Right 3, keep into left 5 at junction. At caution, flat left, tightens 3 over crest. Into right 3, tightens, 50. Flat left, 80. Hairpin left, 100. right 6, 80. Left 4 into right 4, open. Caution, left 4 short over crest, into right 4, tightens 3. And right 4 short into right 5 short, 50. Caution, brake left 2, short, into right 3, tightens. Into left 2 short. Into right 4, tightens into left 2 short. And flat right, 20. Right 3, don't cut, and left 4, keep in over crest. Into right 5 short and hairpin right, 50. Left 4 into right 4. And left 4, 50. Left 5 short, don't cut, 80. Left 2, small cut, open, 20. Left 5, tightens 2 after junction, into right 2, don't cut. Into left 2, don't cut, narrows into flat right, 30. Right 3, short into left 4, tighten. Into right 2, into left 3, don't cut into right 2. And left 4. And left 3, short into right 5, over crest, 30. Right 4, 50. Right 3 into left 5, long. Caution, junction left into flat right, 80. Flat left into right 5. And right 4, medium. And left 6 into right 5, open, 50. Right 4, short, narrows into left 5 and tunnel, 30. Flat left, keep in, 30. And right 6, tightens 5 into tunnel, 20. Right 6 short, 20. Flat right into left 6, narrows, 150 for finish.